All right, hello everyone. Today we're talking a little bit about angles of elevation and depression. Again, this is just a set of notes that I'm doing in addition to what you'll be using today and every day while we're on distance learning using the Khan Academy videos, the assignments, they're all on there. Make sure you're on there looking through all those videos, reading those articles. It's good stuff. This is just my time to clarify a couple things, okay? Now, the second section of trigonometry that we're looking at is angles of elevation and depression. It's all about perspective. You see this example I have up top. We have a guy walking on the ground, and there's a person up in a hot air balloon, okay? This is a very basic example, okay? The person who is looking up at the person in the hot air balloon, that angle, how their eyes would be straight out, how much their eyes raise, that is the angle of elevation. So whatever this degree measure is here, that's what we're talking about, okay? Looking up. Same thing, perspective is up in the balloon, eyes straight out. That's what the horizontal line means here. How much their eyes drop to look down at the person on the ground, that would be the angle of elevation. Again, angle of elevation is formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight above it. An angle of depression is formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight below it. Again, those horizontal lines as if their eyes were going straight out, as you can see, okay? Very basic example. So we look at these next two examples here, guys. We see this first one where we have angle 2 here. We have a person up on a cliff looking down at a sailboat, okay? Well, there's your angle of depression, okay? So again, that'd be angle of depression. Okay, depression down, elevation up. Okay, same thing here, angle 1 here, person on the ground looking up at an airplane. Whatever this degree measure is, how much their eyes lifted, that would be the degree measure for your angle of elevation. All right. Okay, now I'm going to do a couple of examples just showing you how these are done. It's still, we're going to be using trig, so the only trigonometry that we're doing is right triangles. So if it doesn't give me a figure, I'm going to draw a right triangle, okay? Flipping over to the next page here. All right, so now this first one, this is an angle of depression problem, okay? Again, I read the directions, angle of depression. Sarah is watching a parade from a 20-foot balcony. The angle of depression to the parade is 47. What is the distance between Sarah and the parade? Now you see in these sets of notes I have listed out the steps. We're just going to walk through them. You can always pause this video and come back and look at them, okay? Of course, first step, read the problem. Next step, we're going to draw a sketch, okay? So here's my sketch. Again, we're going to be drawing right triangles. So I'm just going to draw a basic right triangle over here. Now you do have to think about the situation, okay? We know Sarah is up in the balcony, okay? So I'll say S, Sarah is up in a balcony off the ground looking down at a parade. We'll call that P. So S and P, that is Sarah and the parade, okay? If you want to draw a little stick figure here and a little parade float here, you can do that, but that's not necessary. Now here's the extra step. Identify what the problem is asking for. It's an angle of depression problem, all right? So what we have to do is we have to circle the reference angle and label the sides. Well, the first thing we're going to have to do is be able to get inside the triangle. Watch me do this. So the angle of depression is not actually in my right triangle at this point. We have a 47-degree angle. That's the angle of depression. You see, that's how far they're looking down to look at the parade, but that's not actually in my right triangle. So the one extra step that you're going to have to do here, guys, is you're going to have to subtract from 90 to get in this right triangle. Because again, vertical line, horizontal line, that would make a right angle. 90 minus 47 will give us this angle up top, okay? So again, everybody, 90 minus 47, that's going to give us 43 degrees, okay? So 43 degrees, that's going to end up being my reference angle. That's the angle I circle, okay? That's where I'm starting. Now it asks me, what is the distance between Sarah and the parade, okay? Distance between Sarah and the parade, that is going to be the hypotenuse, okay? So that's where my X goes, all right? And of course, she's standing on a 20-foot balcony. That balcony is 20 feet up in the air, so that would be my vertical distance. Everybody sees how I labeled my side. So now, the one extra step for angle of depression is you're going to have to subtract from 90 to be able to get inside your triangle. So now I could just do trig to solve for my hypotenuse, okay? So let's go ahead and look at this. From my reference angle, I have the adjacent side. I'm looking for the hypotenuse. So this is going to be the cosine of 43 equals 20, the adjacent, over x, the hypotenuse, okay? Now from here on out, oh, there you go. From here on out, it's just solving a trig problem. We see x is on bottom, okay? So I use my trick, which is just a basic switch and divide, okay? So here, x equals 20 over the cosine of 43, okay? All right, now again, we can evaluate this in our calculator, all right? We go 20 divided by the cosine of 43. Now, I've had lots of questions as what calculator I'm using. Again, I'm using the Web 2.0 scientific calculator. You can Google it, all right? So I hit enter here, all right? What we end up with is 27.34, all right? So x equals 27.3, and the problem started with feet, so we're going to end with feet. 27.3 feet, that would be the hypotenuse, okay? Again, it asks us how far Sarah is from the parade, so that's not a ground distance. If it asks us like how far is the building from the parade, that'd be this piece down here. How far Sarah is from the parade, that's the hypotenuse, okay? So again, extra step for angle of depression, you have to subtract from 90, okay? That's the difficult one, okay? Now in this next problem, we're gonna look at angle of elevation. It's a lot more simple, okay? All right, now number 4 here, again, we're skipping around these notes, just trying to give you good examples so you can go off of. A plane takes off at a 22-degree angle of elevation. So this is an angle of elevation problem. All right, angle of elevation problem. How high is the plane after it's traveled a horizontal distance of 3 miles, round to the nearest tenth? Okay, that's cool. So now again, we're thinking about a plane taking off, all right? So my figure is a right triangle. That's all we're doing with trig, guys, is right triangle. You all know trig goes way beyond this. You get to pre-cal and all that stuff, it's going to be way more difficult than this. But for right now, in the context of geometry, we are just worried about right triangle trig, okay? Now, the good news about the angle of elevation is when it says angle of elevation, that's the angle that's going up 22 degrees. So imagine you've got your airplane over here, right? I'm drawing the airplane, okay, and it's taking off on the runway and going up. That would be your angle of elevation. Now it asks how high the plane will be, so that'll be my vertical distance, that will be my x, after we have traveled a horizontal distance of 3 miles. So their horizontal distance, it tells us 3 miles. So my answer is going to be in miles here, okay? So again, guys, we have 22 degrees as my reference angle. We're inside the triangle, so we're good. We have the opposite side. We have the adjacent side, so this is going to be tangent, okay? All right, sliding the problem over. So this will be the tangent of 22 equals x over 3, okay? Again, opposite over adjacent. Opposite is x. It goes up top. Adjacent is 3. It goes on the bottom, okay? Now, the trick from my other video that I put up, when x is on top, we just multiply these two sides, okay? Just like we did up top, where x is on bottom, we switch and divide. This is what goes in my calculator. Here, x is up top. We're going to take these two pieces and just multiply them together. So here, x equals 3 times the tangent of 22, okay? All right, so in my calculator, this is what goes in. Now, you can put it all into the Web 2.0 calculator online with using parentheses, but I'm just going to do it the tangent of 22. So I hit the tan button, 22, enter, and I'm just going to take that answer and multiply it by 3, okay? All right, now what I end up with here is 1.212, okay? So x is just going to be 1.2 miles, okay? All right, guys. So again, what I've given you here is an example of an angle of depression problem and an angle of elevation. All right, I have drawn the figures. You're going to have to do this with these word problems. If it doesn't give you a figure, all of these trig assignments, it's all right triangle. So draw the right triangle, label and circle your reference angle, know what sides you're using, and then pick whether it's sine, cosine, or tangent, based on what you're given here. Again, use the videos, use the articles, use the examples to complete the assignments on the Khan Academy website, okay? All right, guys, I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you for all your help. Thank you for all your questions. Let's keep this thing going.